Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave, back again on Onefootball. Today we're going to be discussing the top players in this season's Champions League, and we're going to be putting it into an 11 for you. So get into the comments below and put your 11 in there. Any players that you think we've missed out. Went with a bit of a rule that we've gone with players under the age of 23, so they've got to be that in your 11 as well, and I'll see you in the comments. Make sure, of course, to like the video and subscribe to Onefootball if you are new, and turn that notification bell on. Without further ado, let's get this party started. First up in goal is Ajax goalkeeper Andre Onana. The Cameroonian is just 22 years old. He really impressed me on Ajax's run to the recent Europa League final against Manchester United. Confident on the ball, great at playing out of the press, but fantastic 1v1. Excellent at coming off his line, stopping and then using his feet to great success to make a 1v1 save. He's vitally important in Erik ten Hag's style of playing out of the back, the classic Ajax mould. A sweeper keeper is absolutely perfect, and Andre Onana is the guy that's going to get into this 11 as the best young goalkeeper in the Champions League this season. In last season's Champions League, Trent Arnold really grew into the right back slot in Jurgen Klopp's 4-3-3. In terms of Trent Arnold, he did play at central midfield during his youth days, which makes him fantastic on the ball. In the modern day, fullbacks get more time on the ball than any other position on the pitch, and that's good for Liverpool. Trent Arnold has got this bit of a knack of finding Roberto Firmino in between the lines. Of course, Liverpool's shape is a 4-3-3, but it does transition to a bit of a diamond. Firmino starts as a traditional number 9, but drops in as a false 9 to the tip. The big play is Trent Arnold at right back, firing the balls into the feet of Firmino. Firmino turning and then having Mo Salah and of course Mane ahead of him to play through balls to. Very, very dangerous on the counter-attack. Not only is Trent Arnold very important in Liverpool's build-up play and possession game, he's fantastic in a defensive sense. He kept Leroy Sané in his back pocket for 2 games last season against Manchester City. Not only that, but he made more interceptions than any other player in the knockout stages of the Champions League last year, so Trent, one of the guys to watch, young player, young fullback, very exciting times ahead for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. So let's move on to the other fullback, and that is going to be Lucas Hernandez. Diego Simeone's side are so balanced. There's so many different options. You could go with Lucas Hernandez, or of course go with Felipe Luis. But I feel it'll be Lucas Hernandez who gets the nod. After a successful World Cup campaign with France, where of course they went on to lift the tournament, Lucas Hernandez was a player that I didn't expect to start for France, but did. Made the position his own. Was started ahead of someone like Benjamin Mendy. In terms of Didier Deschamps, he set France up in a lopsided 4-2-3-1. And his defensive side of the pitch was of course on the left. He had Matuidi as a left midfielder, and Lucas Hernandez, who is usually a centre-half, as a left-back, which really helped Kylian Mbappé explode on the counter-attack on the other wing. Not only that, but Lucas Hernandez really improved his attacking side of his game for France at that World Cup. But again, if he can improve that attacking game, it's going to be a vital part of course, Atletico Madrid this season. And in the Champions League, those guys are going to be going for it with the depth they have in their squad. Right, let's move on to the centre-backs. First up is Matthijs de Ligt. At 17 years old and just 285 days, de Ligt became the youngest ever player to make a major European final. Of course, that was for Ajax against Manchester United. Since that day, de Ligt's had a full season in the Eredivisie. Now, of course, Ajax getting back into the Champions League is a very exciting player. Not only can he read the game well, but he commands the football when it's at his feet. He completed more passes than any other player in the Eredivisie last season. You can find those passes into midfield, into the likes of De Jong, into the likes of, Matthijs de Ligt not only can do that and play forward, but he reads the game quite well. He's not overly aggressive when he defends and fixates himself on the ball, reads, makes the tackle, comes away with the ball. That's reflected by he won 72% of his tackles in the Eredivisie last season, and is definitely a young player to watch in the Champions League this season. Let's move on to the other centre-back, and it's another Liverpool player, Joe Gomez. It's a bit of a surprise. Again, Dejan Lovren was partnering Virgil van Dijk last season. Dejan Lovren got a stomach injury for Croatia at the World Cup and has missed the start of the season. Joe Gomez has come in and looks so mature. Joe Gomez previously has been played by Jurgen Klopp as a right back in Liverpool's 4-3-3, but now at centre half looks very, very good. Because he's had that experience at playing fullback in the Premier League and in Europe, he knows that those areas out wide he can deal with. One of the biggest traits for fullbacks in the modern day has been able to defend wide. You think Ramos and of course Rafa Varane are two of the best in the game because they're so good in those wide areas and winning the ball back. Gomez looks like he's got similar traits. Really good at going out there, winning the ball and getting Liverpool going forward. Not only that, he's fantastic on the cover. A very athletic player that's good at covering across if Virgil van Dijk or Robertson's flank's been, busted, goes across, slide tackles in there, wins the ball for days. But a fantastic talent partnering someone like Matthijs de Ligt would be a very exciting back two that can play with the ball at their feet and win it back. Right, let's move on into midfield. We're going to set the team up in a 4-2-3-1. So we've got two defensive midfielders. One of them is going to be Amadou Diawara. The Napoli youngster is a fantastic talent. He joined Napoli from Bologna aged 19 and has started to move himself up and being a really good ball-playing central midfielder. In terms of Napoli in previous seasons, it's all been about Sarri ball and Jorginho. Now those two have left for Chelsea, it's time for Diawara to stand up. The other time that he did that in the Champions League in recent years was against Real Madrid home and away. When Jorginho didn't play, Diawara stepped up. In the away leg, he completed more passes than any other player on the pitch, but also only Real Albiol won more tackles. And in the home leg, he dictated the play, completing 89 passes, 5 more than Kroos and Modric managed combined. In terms of that, what's so impressive is if you dominate a midfield home and away against the best in the world, that is what you want to see for a 19-year-old. Now at 21, he's going to start to mature. If he can get more minutes under Carlo Ancelotti for Napoli, he's going to start to become a really good player. But we've seen that before. Midfielders really doing well at the age of 19 against world-class talent. You're thinking Jack Wilshere against Xavi, Iniesta and Busquets. So it's all about Diawara getting more minutes this season and starting to control the Napoli midfield, what Jorginho used to do last season for them. But anyway, let's move on to some more mercurial talent, and that is, of course, Frankie de Jong. If you've not watched Frankie de Jong yet, what are you doing? The guy is an unbelievable footballer. He's been likened to the great Franz Beckenbauer. Playing as a bit of a sweeper in midfield or at centre-half. He's played both of those positions for Ajax. He played centre-half, but then, of course, Daley Blind's been brought in the window, so he's been pushed a little bit further forward into defensive midfield, but still makes that move to sit in the traditional sweeping position in between both centre-halves. What his strengths are moving the ball is breaking that first line of pressure, a big thing in football these days, either with a dribble or of course playing a splitting pass. Let's talk about the dribble because he's got some unbelievable stats with that. Last season in the Eredivisie, he attempted 58 dribbles, completing 54 of them, the best completion rate of any player in the Eredivisie. And for a defensive midfielder that can also play centre-half, that can pick the ball out of defence and drive, what an asset that Ajax have got that makes them such an exciting team this season in the Champions League. Let's move on to attacking midfield. It's going to be Donny van der Beek. If you were to liken the Ajax central midfielder's style to any player, he's basically the Dutch Frank Lampard. Very good at arriving late in the penalty area to finish off moves. That's reflected by his 11 goals that he scored in the Eredivisie last season. You combine that with the 6 assists, he's a very good player, arguably a box-to-box midfielder, arriving in the area where you'd expect a traditional centre-forward to be, to put the ball into the back of the net, either through balls or of course knockdowns from Klaus-Jan Huntelaar, a very exciting player that's very clean on the ball, a little bit more direct than Frankie de Jong, and will really add a goal-scoring element to Ajax's midfield in the Champions League this season. Definitely one to watch. Right, it's on to the attacking positions. First up on that right-hand side has to be Christian Pulisic. The USA international is a player that's really got potential, having been on the scene for a while. Of course, Borussia Dortmund have been through a number of attackers recently. You're thinking Mkhitaryan's gone, Aubameyang's gone, and now, of course, Ousmane Dembele left last season. This means that Pulisic is his time to shine. With Pulisic, he's already put some really good performances in the Champions League. One of the games that really strikes me of a good Pulisic game was Monaco versus Dortmund from a few seasons ago. Dortmund were 2-0 down at half-time. They've been absolutely atrocious in their 3-4-1-2. They really lack drive. What Thomas Tuchel did at half-time was bring on Christian Pulisic as a right wing-back. What he added to the side was directness, was the ability to hit that byline and work the cutbacks. And that wing play really got Dortmund back into the game. They lost it eventually 3-2, but it was so much better than that first half. Losing 2-0 in the first half and winning it 2-1 in the second half, down to Christian Pulisic's ability to drive at his opponent. That's going to be really big for Dortmund in the Champions League this season. Someone that can carry the ball through the thirds. But anyway, we've got to talk about more Borussia Dortmund youngsters, and that is Jadon Sancho. He's going to go on the left-hand side in our 11. The ex-Manchester City youngster has the potential to tear the Champions League apart. This season for Borussia Dortmund, he's assisted a goal every 32 minutes. He exploded onto the scene in England's successful Under-17 World Cup win in, of course, India. He was directly involved in a goal every 50 minutes. 3 goals and 2 assists. Now Dortmund have got the young England star, they're starting to use him in a really good way. And he's a young player that could be challenging the next guy for the best young player in the tournament this season. That, of course, is Kylian Mbappe. We forget the guy's still young. What's he done? He's done some incredible stuff so far for both Monaco in the Champions League and, of course, France at the World Cup and PSG in Ligue 1. First up, we've got to talk about the Monaco spell because that was where he was fantastic as a centre forward in Yardim's 4-4-2. Only Cristiano Ronaldo scored more goals in the knockout stages of the Champions League that season. Kylian Mbappe destroyed so many clubs. And that's a big thing that he's continued. Of course, for PSG, playing previously in a 4-3-3 in the wide position, and the World Cup for Didier Deschamps in that 4-2-3-1, being the first teenager since Pelé to score in a World Cup final. Again, someone like Marcus Rojo is still going to have nightmares after that performance against France for Argentina. Kylian Mbappe completely destroying him on the counter-attack. The only thing for Kylian Mbappe, though, this season is Thomas Tuchel needs to find a system to fit in both Neymar, Cavani and Kylian Mbappe. He's previously tried a 3-4-1-2 with Neymar behind the 2 forwards, and also recently a 4-2-3-1, mirroring what Didier Deschamps did at the World Cup, with Angel Di Maria playing a bit of a support role on the left-hand side. But Kylian Mbappe will be the young star of the tournament this season when Thomas Tuchel decides to sort his... When Thomas Tuchel decides to sort his tactics out. That's it, guys. I'm out of here. You're out of here. Make sure, of course, to like that goddamn video, subscribe if you're new, and turn that notification bell on. In the comments below, who will be the best young player in the Champions League this season? Statman Dave, over and out.